When I came here, every minute was challenging in the first week.
First impression was, gosh, what a language! I want home now.
Barely know anyone from that country. It's honestly a bit of a sad situation, yeah.
I thought that, okay, I know what's that to be abroad, I know that what's that to be a foreigner. It wasn't true.
I mean, you think that the world is where you live, and then turns out there are people who are totally like different.
Sometimes unfriendly, not so polite, and
they have different mentalities and different ideas, and
people are not like easy to connect with.
You're away from family, you don't really know how things work here, you don't know shops here, you don't know where to get things from.
Well, at first coming here, I thought, well, it's Europe. It's not a great difference.
Sometimes it feels different, but it's really hard to understand what exactly. It's hard to put a finger on it, but it's...
But I remember back in Belgium, so I would go straight to people at a cafe, say, hey, can I sit down with you? And we started to chat, and it usually goes well. Here, one of my 2-3 first days, I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the first pub I see. I'm gonna take something, and if I see some people with an empty seat, I'm gonna say, hey, I know nobody here, can I join you? And I didn't expect people to say just no. And you're like, okay, and then I will go home, lay in bed, and and try to disappear for a while so they don't recognize me.
They haven't seen a lot of foreign people before, so I think they had to get used to it. Like nothing too bad, but like people would look at you in a weird way, or like when you get on the bus, everybody would look at you because you're different. But I think it's okay.
Lithuania is still more conservative and more shielded than Germany, where I come from, or France, where I've lived before, or than just the majority of Western Europe.
In a way, that's perhaps one of the big differences I face, that in Berlin or in Brussels, you would walk in the street and have a Vietnamese restaurant, French bakery, and then some kind of African hairdresser. So you would have all this in the same street, a lot of diversity, which is less present in Lithuania. And this I faced, that mostly here people are Christian, white.
When you look at me, I look European. Like when I walk along the street and I'm not speaking in German or English, people would probably not think I'm not Lithuanian. My former flatmate, though, for example, she's from Norway, but her parents are Kurdish, so she looks like a foreigner, so to say. And I've heard from her from some negative situations that she's been in. For example, she didn't like going to one of the supermarkets that was closer to us rather than some of the ones that were further away, because whenever the staff there didn't have anything else to do and she was shopping there, they would follow her around, and it seemed like they were making sure she was not stealing anything or something like that.
Unfortunately, that's the reality of not Lithuania, but just this part of the world. It's not because we, like Eastern Europeans, are mean or something like this. We are just not used to it. we just recently started becoming more and more multicultural and multiracial and stuff like this.
In the end, people just haven't been exposed to non-whites, so to say.
I would hear people in Lithuania saying, yeah, the other day I was in Paris and I felt uncomfortable because they were others. They were like Muslims in the street. They were black people in the street, hanging out in the street. And I felt uncomfortable, insecure, even though they were doing nothing. So I wouldn't say I face this much because I'm also white and I don't look being foreigner.
People would be surprised that I speak very good German, or wow, you don't have an accent. That's a little bit, I mean, I was born in Germany, but I mean, it happens.
It's kind of sad, and I totally acknowledge that if I look different, if my, like, let's say the easiest one, skin color, like complexion was a little bit different, I probably would have been treated differently.
It's difficult. It's you feeling, but from inside. Like it's in most of cases, in my opinion, it comes from the values. They have different values.
I would say I went through 3 steps. First, like, well, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna go like this, like YOLO. Then, oh, that's harder than I expected. I'm gonna have to take time. And then eventually you understand that, okay, it's a different culture, I understand it. And I think I can match up with it.
Because you're a foreigner, you have different perspective of the life, and it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, it's just something that is different.
And they told me, like, you are so similar to be like Lithuanian, you seems like Lithuanian, but you are too happy to be Lithuanian. And I was, gosh.
Actually, if you are like me, in other words, if you have the intention to integrate in Lithuania, I mean, basically only documents will make you foreigner.
I found another Indian guy. He was my classmate, but it was his first day, and he asked me that he was also in attention, and he was like very upset. He told me that I cannot continue my study. I said, okay, don't worry. You will get experience. You will know more, and that will make you 100% Lithuanian or European.
There is no difference between me and another Lithuanian who was living here for centuries.
There is some kind of problem in accepting change, like saying here you can be a foreigner, an outsider, but you have to be more like us and adapt to our customs.
Yeah, you do feel different while being here, and this is normal. I don't have to be Lithuanian to live in Lithuania. I don't have to be like locals. That is, I believe this is a wrong approach. I have to be myself. Like, I'm from Ukraine. Yes, I traveled a lot, but I'm from Ukraine. This is my background. I feel like European. I think this is something that you feel in Europe, that you feel very united. So I feel more like European rather than Ukrainian. And I have to be myself.
I think that you carry this basically your whole life, because even if you live in a country for like 50 years, I think that you still have some, like, I mean, your culture is the culture that you grew up with, and is the one that you have. And of course you can learn other ones, but I don't think you learn them as much as, you know, the person who grows up in a different part of the world. So
I would say in Belgium I was also another, but I would wrap wrap myself in it and link with people who are like me. So I would be a group of others, and I was comfortable and cool somehow.
I think you can be other without being a foreigner. But like when you're a foreigner, it's very likely that you're different or another, coming like from the cultural perspective that you're going into, like the foreign of the country that you're going to.
Mostly it's okay. Sometimes it's not that great, but mostly like over all of these years I'm just used to this idea that I'm an alien and I will always be an alien here.
I face this being a cultural other through the language.
It's mostly because of the language, I guess, that the language is basically like one of the main components of culture and of the place. So if you don't know the language, you cannot really blend in.
Yeah, sometimes just people talk to you in Lithuanian, you don't react, and you feel like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, you feel really like there's a barrier between you and...
It makes you feel a bit alone sometimes as well, because people think in a different way, and of course they have their own language and they have their own jokes and their own history to share, and you don't. So it's very hard to just feel totally connected with people who are not from your culture. It's totally possible, but it's very hard.
So I try to just forget about it and move on.
Kaunas alone has a big enough foreign population to warrant that.
It's a little bit different to be just a foreigner and to be a Russian-speaking foreigner here. It's still a little bit like people are suspicious to Russian speakers.
We don't mix too much. Like, the way I've seen it until now is that the international students are mostly, like it's mostly the international students being together and the Lithuanian students.
A lot of international people here in Kaunas, including me, live sort of in a bubble where you mostly communicate with other international people, do stuff with other international people.
Like, of course, you can live in your, I don't know, bubble and just to communicate with that, but in modern world, no. In modern world, we cannot just to go out of that.
Actually, when you meet the people and you meet the country and the culture, it just becomes so much better, I think. You come here and you don't know anyone, so you need to get to know the people. And some people are very shy, so you kind of need something to just push you out.
I think social media in this case is very helpful. So you can find out and get to know people who have more experience and can help you.
You know, it helps us to interact with people from different countries.
This is very good for people who are not, who don't have a big network, who are not very talkative to everybody, so they can be like, okay, there is something happening.
I think like that the majority of the internationals, at least the international students who live in Kaunas, probably don't have a lot of Lithuanian friends.
Start meeting Lithuanians not your own, and then you will really love it here.
There's an event share in foreigner in Kaunas, and you go that and you take part in that. So probably it will help, like, let's start Kaunas.
Better to start looking for some events of meeting people, hanging out like that, and life will become easier.
Very uncomfortable to go on your own. And I tried, for instance, these Let's Talk Kaunas, I think. One happened once in the park, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna be brave, I'm gonna go there on my own. And I went there and I asked, is it here the conversation? Someone just turned, yeah. And for 50 minutes I stood alone. So I left, yeah. So I realized that these groups help if you know already someone on them, and you need to work like in little groups of friends on them, and this works. But alone, well, it's much more complicated.
They have a lot of events, a lot of cultural and really exciting events. So through that, there's like a poll that says that who all are going and who all are interested. So through that, people text each other that, okay, so you're going, what time are you going? We can go together, this, that. So it's pretty good, yeah.
I mean, I can live with social media like 24/7. Now it's part of our life and we cannot deny it.
Now you use social media for everything, maybe a little bit too much.
The easiest way to connect to people these days, because pretty much everyone has Facebook.
For connecting people, for getting your work done, for outreach, etc., it's a really good thing.
I have a friend on the internet who's from Yemen, who now lives in Sweden, and I never would have met that person if it weren't for social media.
for a lot of people, it's easier to like start a conversation over social media, since you don't have the face-to-face confrontation. That's why, like, I think especially for people who are not so comfortable with just running up to someone and talking to someone, social media is a very, very good possibility. But yeah, I think in general, for bonding with people, getting to know people, social media is a very good start.
I posted a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, like I posted many times like jogging. So hey, there are guys who wanna jog, and we went jogging along the Nemunas River.
And we just trying to communicate with the people. Then we create a group of, we call it Kaunas International Family.
These things are really useful for people who are here. I have met a lot of people like...
People are more friendly in real life than online.
We were coming to the park near to Zirgares. We were spending time there, and we were going to the events, parties, class bars together.
Social media helps to create community and connect to people, because you are in the group like 600 students, some of them active, some of them not. But you can see what's happening, usually if there are some events coming up.
If anyone want to join us, they can join us. Or if we are going to tonight to bar, so if anyone want to, they can join us.
Like, social media does have the capability to connect people who otherwise wouldn't ever see or speak to one another.
They really unite people in a way. If there is an issue that like all of us can suffer from, it like people sort of unite and they help each other. And in these groups, it doesn't matter like where you are from. It's just you are an international here, so everyone is trying to help each other. At least that's how I see it.
And you will get a lot of help from people that live here for a longer time and have more experience.
Like in a second, they replied to the person who is facing the problem, who have the question. So it's a good source, I think.
Someone would post that, hey guys, tomorrow all museums are for free. Let's go somewhere. And that group helps to connect people and go somewhere to attend like Vytautas the Great Museum or some other interesting places where you would not normally go, but you've seen, hey, guys are going, why not to join them?
But I think when you have a substantial divide already, it's not the tool that will substantially change that.
Like it doesn't necessarily transfer into the reality, but in an online world for sure.
No, social media didn't really help because, well, you know, you go text people, say, hey, perhaps people we could meet, and they don't know you, so they say nothing, they don't answer, you just see they saw your post or your message but don't answer. And I realized that when you post a message, usually it just drowning and surrounded by thousands of others, and it's just ignored or seen by those who know you already, and you cannot really help directly. Yeah, so.
Usually I meet people in real life and continue talking in real life, and if we meet online, it usually stays online.
I mean, social media is just kind of for fun and just to stay connected to your family and friends. Nothing more. I don't really talk to strangers. I mean, just because I know them.
That's an uncomfortable reality, but if I want to contact my friends, I have to go through social media because it's easier for everyone, because that's where everyone is. So if you want to be part of something, you need to be where everyone is. Like you can stay in your forest in the wood. So yeah, in a way you have to, because that's where everyone is. And that's perhaps the only thing that's about sharing, is that we share a place in it. We share a place, fictional place or digital place, but we share this at least. Yeah, we have to go. I mean, I feel like I have to be at least on Facebook for now, because that's where people are, and I cannot escape from it for now.
I would say that it includes foreigners and integrates way more than maybe other internet resources, because at the end of the day, even if the group is Lithuanian, if you ask something in English, probably everyone will, not everyone, but like someone will reply, and no one will tell you, get out of here, why you speak in English here.
To be honest with you, if the members of that group are willing, yes. Because sometimes, like, there is one group. So in that group, we are approximately 400. And I am one of the admins of that group. And actually, I start even kicking out people from there. Because in that group, we receive a post only once a week. And no one is reacting, or 2-3 people. So I feel like this group doesn't exist. But a group in which everybody, not everybody, let's say 80% are posting, reacting, talking, and so on, then you feel the community. You are part of an online community.
And you can physically meet and use social media as a tool to connect.
I really want to be more connected, that's for sure. Like, I really want to be more integrated and more connected to where I live, because at the end of the day, I am living in this place. Like, but it's work in progress.